Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chapter 6 in our beginning accounting class. Chapter 6 is going to be dealing with worksheets and adjusting entries for a service business. And as we look at Lesson 6.1, we're actually going to begin with creating a worksheet. Now, one of the things we want to be thinking about in this entire chapter is we're going to want to go ahead and think through how businesses prepare reports that show the status of the business and how they think through and how they process that, realizing that there is a distinct process for how this information goes together and that all businesses are going to complete this process in the same way each time they generate reports. They're just the same as anytime you study for a test or you get a project ready, that you think through and process that and do the same steps each time to make sure that you have good outcome. Okay, so Lesson 6.1 is creating a worksheet. There are two objectives to this lesson. The first one would be to prepare the heading of the worksheet, and then the second step, the much bigger one, would be to prepare the trial balance section of a worksheet. Now, there are a couple of vocabulary concepts that we want to be dialed in on here. Consistent reporting, matching expenses with revenue, and the accounting period or the cycle. Big important ideas here as we go forward. So consistent reporting, the accounting concept consistent reporting is applied when the same accounting procedures are followed in the same way each accounting period. And you want to be consistent in the way you report information every single time. There's never any question about the accuracy of the information or whether what you're creating is valid. So you definitely want to make sure that you're consistent. Then we start talking about fiscal periods, and fiscal periods, this is just the length of time that the business is using to summarize the financial information. Sometimes it's referred to as the accounting period, sometimes it's the fiscal period. The fiscal period that consists of 12 consecutive months is called the fiscal year. Now, one thing that you would want to note is that not every business has a fiscal year that matches a calendar year. And in some cases, depending on the nature of the business, their fiscal year might start in March. Sometimes fiscal years start in July. It just depends on the nature of the business. So a fiscal year can be any consecutive 12-month period. It does not have to be the same as a calendar year. The worksheet, it says a columnar accounting form that is used to summarize the general ledger information that's needed to prepare financial statements. This is the worksheet, okay? And this is basically where you take all of the general ledger information and you add it up. That's the worksheet. So why do we use worksheets? This summarizes all of the general ledger account balances, and this is what we use to prove that all of our debits equal all of our credits. We use a worksheet to plan for any needed changes to general ledger accounts to bring account balances up to date for any information or any activity. We can then have separate general ledger account balances according to the financial statements that need to be prepared, recognizing that all financial statements are not exactly the same. And then we use a worksheet because we want to calculate if there's net income or net loss for any specific fiscal period, whether that fiscal period is a month, whether the fiscal period is 3 months or a quarter, or whether it's 6 months for half a year, or whether it would be the whole fiscal year. And we'd be looking at net income or net loss. So preparing the heading of a worksheet. When we look at the heading of a worksheet, what we're going to see here is that we list the name of the company. We go ahead and identify the name of the report, and in this case it is a worksheet. And then we specify the date of the report and the time frame we're talking about. In this case, it would be for the month ended January 31st, 2015 or 2016. When we prepare a trial balance on a worksheet, notice the information that's here and let's pay attention to the steps. So first of all, we're going to write the general ledger account titles in the worksheet's account title column. So you can see all of the account titles, we're going to write everything in. Okay, we're going to write everything in, even if there's no activity in that particular account. Okay, then we go ahead and write in all of the debit balances and all of the credit balances. So it says write the general ledger debit account balances in the trial balance debit column and the trial balance credit column. So you're just going to want to reference in your mind these are trial balance amounts. Then we're going to go ahead and rule a single line across the two trial balance columns below the last line where we have anything written. So at the last line that we have here is line 19. It says supplies expense. We're going to go ahead and put a single rule below the supplies expense. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add up all of our debits, and then we're going to add up all of our credits. And in this case, you can see that they match, $8,045. And then below that, we're going to double rule, okay, or rule double lines across both the trial balances. And that double line is how we indicate that we now have totals at play, okay? So we're going to write those totals in, and then we're going to rule double lines below it. This is now the trial balance on a worksheet for the month of January. Okay, so what information is written on the 3-line heading on a worksheet for the business? So what information goes on line 1, line 2, line 3? Which general ledger accounts are listed in the trial balance columns of a worksheet? And you want to make sure that you're thinking through this information. After you're done, go ahead and complete the form online to make sure you have the questions answered. And then you want to proceed and do a work together and on your own for 6-1.